In this video, we'll be talking about expanding to Amazon US marketplace as a European-based Amazon seller. So our guest is Tosin from Payoneer. Payoneer is a global payment solution for e-commerce and other kind of businesses. And Tosin will be sharing some tips and knowledge about, for example, what kind of entity is best to use for US marketplace. Should a European business create a US entity or use own entity, European entity in US, and what are the advantages of both? Also, Tosin will share the preferred solution by Amazon sellers, which he see sellers are choosing, and a few other tips in this video. So make sure you watch until the end. And also, if you are looking for a global payment provider, and Payoneer, check the Payoneer, and actually Payoneer has few more services to offer for e-commerce sellers. So check the Payoneer links below, and also don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel of Orange Klik, click the notification bell, and see you in this conversation hosted by LISETT LEES, which works with different Amazon brands.
Hi Tosin, it's great to have you here today. So before we go into today's topic, could you please introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Hi, my name's Tosin. Thanks for having me today. I've been here, I believe, before in the past. I lead the business development team for Payoneer in Western Europe, and it's great to be here today.
Awesome. So today you will talk about how EU sellers could expand to US. So I know you have prepared the slide deck for us as well to give a better overview. So let's go straight into that.
Sounds good to me. Let's do that. So today I'm going to be talking about the considerations or things you need to think about when you want to expand your business into the US. And yes, it's a thing that many of our customers are doing. And the great thing about marketplaces is, wherever there is a marketplace, you've got an infinite number of sellers that are available to you. And the US is probably one of the number one markets that our customers, our UK customers for sure, go to after being in the UK. So yeah, let's do that. So yes, I've told you a little bit about myself. I lead the business development team here at Payoneer in the UK, but we actually cover the Western Europe as well as most of Europe as well. So yeah, I'm based out of the London office. And I've got a team of about 5 or 6 people. And we also have a team based in Ukraine that cover the Eastern Europe region as well. So a little bit about Payoneer. Some of you may be aware of us. We actually help about 4 million customers. It's been 4 million for about a year, so it's probably about 4.5 million now. We help about 4 million customers internationally. We work in over 150 currencies, and we actually can support payments in over 200 countries. So that's pretty much the majority of the world. We're integrated with thousands of leading brands and marketplaces. Pretty much every marketplace in the world we have a partnership or a relationship with to help customers receive their funds from the marketplace. And for our customers specifically, we have 24/7 customer support because we are present in around 22 offices around the world. As each time zone shifts along, we can offer customer support for pretty much customers everywhere around the world. To do what we do as a massive payments company, we have a number of financial partners, so including MasterCard and Deutsche Bank, Bank of America, etc. And some of our business partners also include Amazon, who we're talking about today, Google, Fiverr, Taboola, Wish, and Airbnb. So when you're thinking about expanding your business, your e-commerce business into the US or your Amazon business, there are things you need to think about. As a global seller, you already know that the largest e-commerce marketplace is in the US. But if you're considering making this critical expansion for your business, there are definitely some vital things to consider. It is possible to expand and make changes later, of course, but some of these changes can create unexpected consequences. And knowing the full picture up front will actually help you be more prepared for the things that come in the future. We found that successful e-commerce sellers actually who expand globally have several factors or things in common. One of the things, it sounds like I'm stating the obvious here, is the ability to plan effectively, which involves thinking quite a few moves ahead. And the first thing you've got to think about is the structure of your business. So, is it a foreign or US entity structure the best? Which one's the best? And it depends really on your needs. we all know that marketplaces are going to be taking on the tax and the VAT implications for sellers next year. So this is a big thing to think about, and this might stop some people actually potentially, having a foreign entity. But this is the first thing you should ask yourself. You may want to sell into the US from a foreign entity, but when you're doing that, is it going to restrict your ability to actually sell or not? Especially if you're looking to sell on multiple marketplaces. There might be situations where having an entity in each country works for you, or some situations where actually having one or two entities in key countries works for you. And it really depends on the accounting. It depends on the structure of the business and how you think you're going to scale it. Some e-commerce sellers expand into the US using a foreign entity, and that is definitely an option. But typically, this is a new seller wanting to do business in the US with a foreign entity, but looking to keep their general costs down. Now, this approach is also useful if you'll test your sales and profitability in the smaller markets, such as Canada, to determine if you really want to stay in that market. But as the largest market globally, the US doesn't require tests. Really, it's just your commitment because it is that big. So where should you actually structure your business legal entity? Do you operate currently with an entity in your country to sell into the US? Or are you thinking about going for a US legal entity? In regards to your business structure, there are advantages and disadvantages to each approach. So going through them, the main advantage of expanding into the US with a foreign entity is that it keeps your costs down by simplifying your banking and accounting because everything is under one company. Now, you will still keep your accounting for each marketplace separate, but overall you're operating one company. And if you're expanding to the US with a foreign entity, the costs are slightly more compared to forming a separate US entity. And as far as the US tax responsibilities are concerned, these will be the same depending on your engagement as a US trade or business. Now, if you're going to expand into the US without a foreign entity, you'll separate your liability from your existing foreign e-commerce business. And liability is a big thing for many customers. You really want to limit liability as much as possible. It makes a lot of business sense. I'm not saying that that's what you should do, by the way. But you do limit your liability from your existing foreign e-commerce business, especially if it's a very big, successful one. Imagine being involved in a crippling lawsuit in your home country. Would you rather lose 100% of your business or only 50% because the other half was in a US entity outside of the jurisdiction of your own country, and vice versa? And that's where we're talking about limiting the liability. The same thing for people in their home country with a limited company, for instance. But then again, the disadvantage of operating with a foreign entity is that all your liability is in one entity. As you've all heard before, don't put all of your eggs in one basket. And any liability from the US business will impact all your business revenue that is operating out of one entity. And that is definitely a considerable risk to take. Other services to help you expand into the US. So the great thing about the internet and the world right now is there's so many service providers that can help people who are involved in e-commerce like yourselves to actually expand globally. And whether you expand as a foreign entity into the US or form a new US entity, the following services are either linked to your foreign entity or the new US entity to help you sell on these marketplaces. You can get an EIN from the IRS, a virtual address service, a sales tax registrations, and tax support to file to the appropriate federal and state returns. And yes, Amazon are starting to take responsibility for the tax, but do remember that currently the tax is still different in every state in the US. So that's something you have to be aware of. Before you invest fully in a new market, you need to test the opportunity on a small scale. Maybe do a little bit of light marketing on a small number of products, or use a limited promotional campaign, which could include shipping options to the new market, taxation, promotional events. And as you evaluate the opportunity, you have to determine whether the revenue potential, with the increased distribution costs, the higher taxes, tariffs, and fees, whether that's all really, really worth it for you. You've got to also identify your support tools. So taxation and fees are particularly complex when selling internationally or on Amazon or other platforms. Each country has unique regulations and tax standards. And in some cases, you might need a local expert to advise or manage activities in the international market. Now, if you're from an English-speaking country, the odds are when you go to the US, you won't need that. But certainly when you expand into other marketplaces, or Amazon marketplaces, that might be quite relevant. in some cases, you can also adapt your brand to fit into new markets. Not all the time, but sometimes. However, adapting too much could actually cause confusion within your own international marketplace. So if you've got a strong brand, it's also something to be aware of. A strong brand is great, maybe in one country, but in a different country, it might not work as well. Which way do you want to do that? In terms of using Payoneer, though, one of the great things about Payoneer is that you have a receiving account, or we provide you with a receiving account. So you can connect your account, your Payoneer account, to any Amazon marketplace, and it will help you receive those funds. So once you've worked out if you want to expand into the US or expand into Japan or Australia or Canada, Payoneer can provide you with a receiving account to receive those fees. Now, the great thing about our receiving accounts is you're receiving the funds locally. So the marketplace might be in America, for instance, and they're paying you in American dollars. It's a local transaction. So you receive those funds for free. But not everything in life is free. When you withdraw those funds, then you do have a fee to withdraw those funds. But certainly it reduces the double cost sometimes of withdrawing funds from your Amazon disbursements. Each of our users has a unique set of virtual bank accounts with low FX fees, and also clients and marketplace services and payment gateways can be connected to these stores as well to help you do a bank transfer as well. So it's pretty cool from that side. The recurring issue that we have, like you can see situations where, in a way, this slide is a little bit outdated. So it used to cost around 4% for Amazon customers to receive their funds from Amazon, from the marketplace. So you're looking at Amazon, Germany or France, Italy, Spain, or the US, and they bring it to a UK bank account, in this example, at a cost of 4%. Well, actually, that cost has now gone down to around 2%, but still, you might receive it into a UK bank account. And then if you then want to pay a supplier or pay the money back out in a different currency, maybe in euros or in pounds or another different currency, you're looking at, an up to 6% charge to send those monies out again to a supplier or pay your VAT. Now, with Payoneer, that's not the case. When you receive the funds in, I think I said before, it's for free. But then when you pay them out, you can then get hit with a one FX charge rather than the double charge. And that's where, 50 to 60% of the saving is done. We provide not just receiving accounts, it's really an end-to-end service for e-commerce sellers. So whether you're, like I said before, whether you're expanding to the US or the UK or wherever you're going to, we provide you services end-to-end if you're into e-commerce. So whether it's, you being an e-commerce marketplace seller, you're connected to a payment gateway or something like Stripe, or a client, a B2B client paying you, you can have those funds there, come into your Payoneer account. Maybe you need to self-fund your account. You need to make a massive transaction to a supplier in China or in Italy, and you don't have the right currency. You can self-fund your account, and then we can do the conversion for you. Or maybe you're an Amazon seller in the US or the UK, and you need a little bit of capital from us based on your Amazon store. You can use our capital advance. And all three options are ways for you to bring funds into your Payoneer account. Once those funds are in there, you can send them to yourself, for your back to yourself, which would be a bit strange maybe if you self-funded, but certainly you can do that. Or you can pay out to your VAT, pay out using our MasterCard, or pay out to your bank, or pay out not to your bank, but actually to a supplier. So there's so many different options you can do once you've put funds in your Payoneer account. And pretty much the world is your oyster. You can pay anyone you want to pay. You can pay your VAT, you can pay your sales tax in the US, or you can pay your suppliers. And that's it from me in terms of explaining to you what we do. I'm just interested to see if there's anything that, specific questions that you may have for me.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tosin, for your presentation. I think let's go from back to the beginning. So first thing, if you summarize, what's the biggest pain point you solve for the Amazon sellers?
For Amazon sellers, there's quite a few things. So, talking to some of my customers at the moment, COVID's been quite hard for people and hard on cash flow. So if you're an Amazon seller and things were going well, you were building, your brand was building, and all of a sudden COVID hit and you were one of those people who were affected by Amazon FBA initially because you weren't a core product. Many of our customers came to us and said, hey, we've got problems with cash flow, and we were able to offer them a capital advance, for instance, and that helped prop up their business and try to get them to almost maintain the levels of growth they were seeing. So that's a big thing. And for small to medium-sized businesses, being cash rich is king. That's why Apple's, the most valuable company in the world because they're cash rich. So that's one of the things. I think the thing that we've always spoken about is the ability to help customers receive funds globally from any Amazon marketplace, whether it's .com or .co.uk or Italy. And we've done that so well for so many years, and we've done that at a better rate than everyone else. So we've always been in touch with the marketplace. So whether it's helping you receive your funds from the marketplace, helping you pay suppliers with those funds, or pay back to your bank account, we feel like we've always tried to support customers and Amazon sellers from day one.
So if we go back to EU sellers expanding to US, in your opinion, what's the biggest struggle for the sellers?
I think the fear of the unknown, right? So many of us have got great ideas and great plans for our business or our lives, and in general. And the fear of the unknown is the biggest barrier. Like taking a chance. I've got a successful product in the EU right now. I know my client base. I'm based in the same continent, in the same country. There are no guarantees that if I launch in the US, that it will work. And on top of that, you've then got a situation where, okay, I have to now fork out more funds to actually set up an entity, because it seems like the best way to do it. Do I want to risk not setting up an entity? Because if I don't have a US entity, what are my tax obligations, my VAT obligations? Are they higher? A lot of people set up companies, US companies or entities in Delaware, for instance, because it's easy to do it. They've realized that there's some, it's easier to do it and it's cheaper for them to do it that way. Whereas in the EU, there's more restrictions when it comes to setting up an entity, for instance, in the Netherlands or something like that. So I think it's the fear of the unknown, not knowing, really what the best way of doing it is. But, sometimes you've got to take a leap of faith and you say, actually, if I've got a good product and it really is a good product and it works in Europe, the odds are if I market it properly, I've got a good chance of being successful in the largest, e-commerce space in the world. So, there's nothing to fear. You really should just go for it. And if you've got that sort of mindset, that growth mindset, there are so many companies that are service providers that can help you and give you advice, and go reach out to the right people, reach out to your network, see who else has done it before. But, just not being scared. The biggest barrier is being scared of the unknown.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And based on your experience, how often does it happen that sellers change their business structure? So they first go to, let's say, start selling on Amazon.com with the foreign entity, and then want to change and start a company in US. How difficult it is to change the company in terms of like being an Amazon seller?
Good question, actually. I find that most of our customers actually come to us and they're selling on Amazon UK, because I'm based in UK. So most of my customers initially are the UK customers. And then they might expand to the EU, formally with their UK company, which we can't do after Brexit comes very, very soon. And then at that point, they say, oh, yeah, the next one for us is the US. We're going to do the US. And I would say in over 50% of the situations that I see or I come across, people will set up an entity. And then the other 50% don't set up an entity. And there's nothing to say statistically when I look at the numbers that the people who set up an entity do better than the people who don't. So I can't say I see that, but I would say, yeah, 50% do, 50% don't. And the ones who do, the good thing is if their business really scales, they can create, because they've got an entity there, they can get over there and they can scale the business maybe a little bit faster. Maybe I see that more. They have like a presence. They start to have a presence over in the States. They might have a company secretary or someone there to help with the operation. You'll see that someone will be leading the US operation, whereas the entities I see who are predominantly focused in Europe, I don't see them with an operation in the States. And maybe that's a limiting factor. Even for us as our business, we are better when we actually have people on the ground. And I think maybe that's the one limiting factor I might see.
Okay. And do you have any insights to share how difficult or how easy process it is to set up a company in US for an EU person?
Yeah. So, I'm definitely not going to be an advisor from what I'm aware. Setting up a company in Delaware takes a few hours, and that's the route. Like most people who set up a European company or entity in Estonia, that's the route that many people take. Set up a company in Delaware. It's there. You can get yourself a Payoneer account attached to your new company. And really, you can start collecting your funds from your marketplace as soon as you want. So, the additional things that come in terms of paying sales tax, a lot of that's moving to the marketplace soon anyway. It's different from state to state, but certainly in terms of setting up an entity, it's really shouldn't be a barrier to progress, really, because it is that simple. It is that fast to set up one in Delaware. And there's many companies that can help you do that, or you can do that yourself.
By the way, is it possible to expand to Amazon.com from any EU country, or are there any requirements by Amazon that not everybody from all of European countries can sign up?
Yes, good question, actually. So from what I see, there are some countries that are restricted, and I'm not going to necessarily name them on this interview, but there are some companies that are restricted, or countries, and some people will find creative ways to create entities in other European countries that are not restricted. But there are a few countries that are a little bit more restricted than others. But certainly, where I'm based in the UK is not one of them.
Okay, and I think all the viewers, if you want to have a view on the list, and Amazon definitely has it on their website as well for the information. So you mentioned liability topic as well, which is very important for Amazon sellers, and often newer Amazon sellers don't know much about it. So can you once more explain a little bit why it's so important to understand the liability topic as an Amazon seller?
Of course, yes. So if you imagine you're selling a product, and, with products, you can get, you can obviously trust your supplier. You obviously go and find a trusty supplier. But sometimes with things, like anything in life, things can go wrong. And every country has its own rules on liability. And you can imagine, the US, maybe for, not the greatest reasons, has been known to have larger lawsuits than other countries, maybe. So you've got to think about liability. You've got to think, if you keep your European entity, and you use that entity to enter the US market, and you start doing really well, and you're scaling, and because you're scaling so fast, your supplier is making thousands of products and hundreds of thousands of products, and if one of them is faulty, and someone in the US gets hurt really, really badly, when the lawsuit comes, and it probably will come, statistically it probably will come, that means your whole business could be liable. So if the lawsuit comes and you're found to be at fault, not your supplier, you can't prove it's your supplier, and the lawsuit's for $1 million or something, they'll take that $1 million or try to take it from not the entity, but the business that's operating in the US. And if it doesn't have that money or those funds, it will then look outside of that business that you've got going and say, actually, what other businesses does this person have? What else can we get to pay this debt? So if you set up a UK or US entity, sorry, in this case, your liability when you set up a private company or a limited company is limited for that reason. Your liability is limited. So they can come after that business, but only up to a certain amount, and only from a certain amount due to that business. And what would happen then is your very successful EU business will be protected. So the US authorities have no claim or no right over your EU business. And that's a really important thing to think about. We all think about success. We all think about growth and actually doing really, really well. But actually, sometimes you've got to mitigate the risk and protect yourself in the future. So from that side, it does make a lot of sense to have two entities.
Thank you very much for such a clear explanation about this topic. I think is super important to understand it well. So thank you so much for coming here today. Could you once more share with our viewers how Payoneer helps Amazon sellers?
Yes, of course. So we try and help Amazon sellers in as many ways as possible. And the first way really is when you expand right now, and also when you expand into new marketplaces, into new Amazon marketplaces especially, we like to, or will provide you with a receiving account. So you can receive all of your Amazon disbursements for free and bring them back to your home country at a considerably cheaper rate than using Amazon to do it direct to your bank or using other marketplace payment providers. That's the first thing we do. And secondly, we also help companies pay their US sales tax or pay their VAT through our portal. And thirdly, if you are from certain countries, we'll also give you funds towards your account based on your disbursements coming in. It's called a capital advance, and we'll give you up to 1 month of your expected earnings from Amazon, and you'll pay that back to us over 3 months to help you grow your store as well. So we try and help customers in many ways that are relevant as possible.
And what's the best way to reach out to you?
You can go through our website. is one way. If you've heard enough and you think actually being a Payoneer customer sounds fantastic, you can go straight to our website and you can register an account. Alternatively, you can actually contact myself or anyone on my team. So there's a couple of email addresses. One's eusalesteam@payoneer.com, or my one is Tosin, okay, so TOSIN, @payoneer.com as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and we wish good luck in your business.
Excellent. Thank you very much for having me. Take care.
I hope you like this video, and if you're looking for a global payment provider, you can choose Payoneer. It's one of the leading companies in this industry. You will find the links below of Payoneer in the description. And now I would like to invite you to watch some videos where we cover different topics for Amazon Europe. So if you are selling or want to sell in Europe, check this playlist.